PICTIONADES is a crazy fun game that children love so much they forget they're learning. PICTIONADES combines the two classic games of Pictionary and charades to deepen students' understanding of vocabulary in a really fun way. To play PICTIONADES, you're going to need to split your class or group into two teams and name them. This could be Team A, Team B, red team, blue team. That's not really important. These two teams are going to meet with space in between them. And in the middle is going to be a deck of vocabulary cards that you have selected for your students and their level of ability. A student from the first team is going to come up and draw their first vocabulary card. And they're going to keep it to themselves. You don't want them to share it with anyone, because they're going to act out the word on the card. Then they're going to draw a picture to represent the word on the card. And the objective for their team is to guess the word correctly in 1 minute or less. If they don't guess the word correctly within a minute, the opposing team may have the chance to steal their word by guessing it correctly. Now, the inclusion of this aspect of the game is entirely up to the teacher's discretion. The parameters for this game should be set in a way that best suits your class's personalities and level of maturity, as well as their level of ability. If I were a student playing Pictionary with my peers and it was my turn, I would come up to the center and pull my vocabulary card. Contact. Contact. I would act it out. I might do and then when I go to draw it out, I might draw things like a letter, a speech bubble, an envelope, a phone. Actually, young children or students in general nowadays would probably draw their phone as a little smartphone with messages to illustrate their contact, because this is the most common way that they contact each other now, is through smartphones. The point of this whole activity is for them to read the word, recognize the word, associate its meaning, act on its meaning, and represent its meaning. I mean, this activity is challenging the student to look at a word and make that word something observable. And in order to make that word observable, you must understand it. Now, I like to think about differentiation and scaffolding a lot with these activities. And one of the things that I thought of was, if a student is really struggling, or if you have several ESL students who are at different levels, you may want to provide something like 3 stacks. One with easy, medium, and hard cards. That way students can go up and select from a pile that they feel comfortable with. In the easy pile, I recommend providing a definition below the word, which should be very clearly printed in large letters for the students to be able to easily read. For instance, this one, if they were to pull this card and have squeeze, first they need to be able to read the word squeeze. But if they're having trouble reading the word squeeze, they might look at the definition to grab tightly or press closely. That may trigger their recognition of the word squeeze. Or if they are able to decode the word squeeze, but they can't quite recall the meaning yet, the definition will give them direction. This gives me in this regard, it becomes very important to recognize these moments when students are struggling and find out which one it is. Start by asking the student, can you read me the word? If they can, then you know they're capable of decoding. and the issue lies in word meaning. So this activity involves a lot of informal assessment through observation of students' participation and performance. Assessment here is actually rather easy because if students cannot act out or draw the word, that means that they either could not decode the word on the card or could not recognize the word's meaning. In this regard, it becomes very important to recognize these moments when students are struggling and find out where the issue lies. Start by asking the student what the word is. If they can read it to you, that means they're capable of decoding, and the issue lies in word meaning. If they cannot read it, try supporting them in decoding the word, or dictating the word to them to see if they recognize the word or its meaning, revealing that the issue lies in decoding. Watch closely when students are performing and keep record of the quality of their interactions with these words. I recommend keeping some variation of a checklist of the current vocabulary card words that the students are playing with and using that to mark off as you're observing the students playing. Using this, you want to be looking out for the time that it takes between drawing their card and reacting to express the card, because that will key you in as to how long it's taking them to decode, process, and recognize meaning in the word before acting on it. If you see that all of the students are struggling with particular words, that shows you that they need more practice, more explicit instruction with those words. If you notice that students are moving at a very fast pace to the point where they're almost anticipating the words before the student even needs to complete the action or get to the drawing, that means that your students are very comfortable and familiar with the words they've been working on thus far and are ready for you to integrate new words in with some of the more challenging words that they still have. In other words, when you do integrate new words, you don't want to completely swap out all of the words they've been playing with. You want to take out the ones that you know they have down solid and replace those easy ones with new words, keeping those more challenging words in rotation for students to keep building that schema. Now, this does not have to be a competitive activity. I will reinforce this again. This game should be played in a manner that best suits your students' needs to provide the most enjoyment from the experience. The goal of activities like PICTIONADES is not explicit instruction, rote memorization, or drilling. The goal is to have fun with words. When kids are having fun with words, they're forming connections to words. And when they form personal connections to words through authentic and social interactions, they'll carry that word's meaning with them in the long run for future encounters outside of the context of this game. But it's the fun that leads the students to gain the academic meaning from these words, and that's why games like this are so vital.